discuss what is the confirmatory test for these amoebiasis. The confirmatory test, I told you, it was the test that we were using. It was called as the Charcot Leyden crystal test. Okay. Now we had discussed what was this Charcot Leyden crystal test. In brief, I told you what the refreshers are telling you about this Charcot Leyden crystal test is that in this test, there are special type of crystals which are formed over the eosinophils when the infection is present inside the body. I repeat, if suppose I have the infection of Entamoeba histolytica, I am suffering from amoebiasis, then if the blood cell is, if my blood sample is taken and Charcot Leyden crystal test is carried on my blood cells, then on my eosinophils, special crystals will be observed. And if these special crystals are present, that is a confirmatory test that in my body, I am having infection of Entamoeba histolytica. Now, my question to you was that why is this happening? Why especially the eosinophils are developing these special types of crystals? So as Aditya tried to find out, because we don't have the answer for this in the refreshers also. We don't, NCERT to hai okay, refreshers, this answer is not given. So whenever we are studying such things, the answer of which we do not get in the refreshers, we do not get in the good books. Nowadays we have a very good resource with us जो कि हम लोग आज तक use कर रहे हैं, that is internet. Okay, और internet we do not believe on anything just which is a talk forum. ऐसे नहीं किसी भी talk forum पे आप you went and वहाँ पे किसी ने 3-4 लोगों ने अपनी talks डाली हुई है and you believe the answer. I'll tell you one reason why I'm so, that is I was preparing the answer keys. तो आप लोग answer keys थोड़ी सी share हुई है. So preparing those answer keys, I wanted a confirmatory answer of one of the questions. So I said, okay, fine. I'll let me look over the net. Or net में when I the answers, when I put the question, the answers I was getting was many of the top forums, and majority of the places those answers were wrong. जो autosomal dominant है उसको autosomal recessive लिखा हुआ है, जो autosomal recessive है उसको उन्होंने autosomal की जगह sex-linked लिखा हुआ है. So there were so many mistakes. So whenever you want to clarify something very you want to be very sure of the answer, do not go to the top forums, do not rely on the top forums. The answer may be correct many a times, but you must cross check those answers. Wikipedia भी पूरी तरीके से reliable नहीं है, कोई भी edit कर सकता है Wikipedia को. Okay, so then where should we go as biologists? Where should we go? We should rely on the journals. किसी भी जर्नल में एक रिसर्च पेपर पब्लिश कराना इज अ बिग अचीवमेंट फॉर अ रिसर्च फेलो. ऐसे आसानी से नहीं पब्लिश हो जाता है किसी का भी पेपर. इट हैज टू गो थ्रू नंबर ऑफ स्कैनिंग्स एंड ओनली देन अ रिसर्च पेपर फाइंड्स प्लेस इन अ रिसर्च जर्नल. तो अगर किसी रिसर्च जर्नल का कोई पेपर है, उसमें पब्लिश पेपर है, यू आर सीइंग द नेम ऑफ द जर्नल एंड द पब्लिशिंग डेट और पेज नंबर, दैट मींस दैट इज अ मच मोर ऑथेंटिक सोर्स. ठीक है. So now what Aditya has found out is what he has said. The gist of it is that when Entamoeba histolytica infects our body, then what happens? The eosinophils, as a result of this infection, their membrane it starts degrading. और जब वो डिग्रेड होती है तो उसमें जो प्रोटीन पोर्शन है वो डिग्रेड नहीं हो पाता है, वो रह जाता है. And then what happens? It remains behind in the form of those crystals. It just forms the crystals. तो उनके मेम्ब्रेन के डिग्रेडेशन का एक साइन है द प्रेजेंस ऑफ दिस क्रिस्टल्स. और डिग्रेडेशन क्यों हो रहा होगा? बिकॉज द डिग्रेडेशन इज बीइंग कॉज्ड बाय द प्रेजेंस ऑफ द पैथोजन. इसलिए द प्रेजेंस ऑफ क्रिस्टल्स ऑन eosinophils is an indirect indication of presence of the pathogen. Fine. Now is it clear to everybody? Okay, so let us proceed. We were discussing about human health and disease, and human health and disease में we had finished all the diseases and we had done a very important part, and that is the life cycle of the malarial parasite, जिसमें मैंने कहा था आपको आते ही आते हैं questions. ठीक है. In malarial parasite we studied that there are two major phases in the life cycle. Two major hosts होते हैं, primary host and secondary host. That is why the life cycle is called as diagenetic. And इसके अलावा two important phases in the life cycles, the gametophytic stage and the sporozoite stage. Sporozoite stage में क्या क्या steps थे? Those who were not able to tell the steps yesterday, वो आज बता सकते हैं मेरे को? Can you repeat the steps? Yes? किस स्टेज में एंटर करता है? स्पोरोजोइड स्टेज में
Sporozoid
एंटर करता
stage.
है in the humans. Okay, who was giving the answer? Please continue.
Ma'am, Rajan.
Yes, Rajan, continue with.
Ma'am, it enters in sporozoid stage, and that is 2N stage in the blood, and through blood it goes to the liver cells and start dividing asexually. Ma'am, then the liver cell bursts, and then it comes in infectious stage, that
That
is
is the merozoites
mero-
come out. Yes.
yes, ma'am. Ma'am, then the merozoites they affect RBCs, and then RBC bursts, and that merozoites came out of RBC, and which results in fever and that chills.
Yes.
And
So the virusoids infect the RBCs, that they go inside the RBCs, start dividing there also asexually. और जब वहाँ पे divide करते हैं, then what happens? The RBCs they burst, और bursting of RBCs releases hemozoin. ये बहुत important point है. और जब RBCs burst होते हैं और hemozoin release होता है, only then we feel those chills. मलेरिया की जो chills हैं, वो उस chill एकदम से ठंड लग के एकदम से फीवर क्यों राइज होता है? That chilliness is caused because of the hemozoin which is released, and with it is followed by a rise of fever. फिर धीरे धीरे fever नीचे आता है और फिर नॉर्मल तक आ जाता है, देन अगेन 48 आवर्स में राइज करने लगता है, क्योंकि 48 आवर्स में वो डिवाइड करके फिर से आता है, आरबीसीज को बर्स्ट करके इट कम्स आउट एंड देन इट स्टार्ट्स इन्फेक्टिंग द अदर आरबीसीज. यस कुणाल. यस बेटा.
How hemoglobin produce chill feeling?
Okay, how hemoglobin is produced और इसके कौन कौन से साइकिल्स होते हैं? See, even 11th में हमारे इसमें डिटेल नहीं था, so I had kept this out specially so to discuss with you all. Okay, can you see this table? This is actually the detailed table of the life cycle of a malarial parasite. आपकी 12th में बहुत simple form में दिया हुआ है, but when you study diversity, और अगर किसी ने नीट के लिए diversity पढ़ी होगी, तो उसमें malarial parasite का detailed life cycle you must have studied. So I'll just tell you very quickly what were the stages. The first stage is the young tropozoid stage. That is सबसे पहले infection in man. Infection in man. Let's start from the beginning. Infection in man. The sporozoid stage enters into the body. वो blood के through liver में जाती है, and in the liver it goes and divides inside the liver cell and forms the merozoites. Okay, so now what are the stages? जो sub stages which are present inside man. The first stage is the sporozoites present in the salivary gland of mosquito are injected into the blood of man. Then is the pre-erythrocytic schizogony. I repeat, the pre-erythrocytic schizogony, in which the cryptozoites are formed. Yes, Aditya. बिल्कुल सही, यही diagram है. So the cryptozoites are formed. Then is exoerythrocytic schizogony, यानी ब्लड में ही क्रिप्टोजॉइड्स बन जाते हैं, एंड नाउ दीज क्रिप्टोजॉइड्स एंटर द लिवर सेल्स. तो आप नीट में जब पढ़ोगे तो आप ये वाले टर्म्स पढ़ोगे, सिग्नट रिंग स्टेज, क्रिप्टोजॉइड, तो कंफ्यूज मत होना आप. In man, I'll quickly repeat. Thank you, Aditya. So what we were doing, we studied that when the so what happens when the sporozoid stage enters into human blood, it converts into the cryptozoites. The cryptozoites enter into the liver cells. In liver cells, they convert into the metacryptozoids. These metacryptozoids come out, enter inside the RBCs. Inside the RBCs, they develop into the young trophozoid, which is also called as the signet ring stage. Signet ring means a ring which is empty from inside, just like we wear these rings. Okay, so जैसे ring होती है, it is empty from inside. So what is the signet ring stage? Why is the signet ring stage? Because a vacuole is present, a big vacuole is present in the center. तो अगर ये outside structure है और उसके बीच में यहाँ पे बड़ा सा vacuole आ गया, so this will give it the appearance of a signet ring. Okay, so signet ring stage आ जाती है, and then after the signet ring stage, in the signet ring stage, what happens? It keeps on pushing the nucleus to one side, and after this, it enters into the amoeboid stage. Now, in the amoeboid stage, धीरे धीरे करके the vacuole disappears. That is why we call it and the shape is not very particular. So we call it the amoeboid stage. And in this stage, Kunal, here comes your answer. In this stage what happens, क्योंकि कहाँ पे present है ये हमारे RBCs के अंदर present है. RBCs के अंदर और क्या present है? Hemoglobin present है. Okay, so the hemoglobin present inside our RBCs is degraded by this amoeboid stage. वो उसको डिग्रेड करता है और उसको डिग्रेड करने से जो प्रोडक्ट बनता है हीमोग्लोबिन के डिग्रेड होने से, दैट इज अ ब्राउनिश कलर्ड सब्सटेंस, दैट इज हीमोजॉइन. ठीक है, तो हीमोग्लोबिन को डिग्रेड करके उससे हीमोजॉइन बन जाता है और उससे उसके बाद क्या होता है, दीज नंबर ऑफ many granules also, yellow and orange colored granules also accumulate inside the RBCs, and that these are known as the Stuffer's dots. Okay, पोस्ट आरबीसी जिसके अंदर अमीबॉइड स्टेज प्रेजेंट है, उसके अंदर कई सारे येलो एंड ऑरेंज कलर डॉट्स बन जाते हैं विच आर नोन एज द स्कूफर्स डॉट, और साथ में अमीबॉइड स्टेज में आ जाता है द sporozoites. Okay, now what happens, now they burst open the RBCs and they come out. धीरे धीरे सारे amoeboids जो हैं वो change हो जाते हैं into the merozoites, and the merozoites burst open the RBCs and they come out. जैसे ही वो burst open होंगे, what else will be released? The hemozoin will be released. जो hemoglobin hemozoin में convert हो गया है वो भी release होगा, and when it is released, then what will happen? Chilly feeling and the rising of fever will start taking place. और ये पूरा वापस मीरोजॉइड से ट्रोफोजॉइड स्टेज में जाना, ट्रोफोजॉइड से फिर अमीबॉइड स्टेज में आना, फिर मीरोजॉइड स्टेज में आकर के रिलीज करना, आरबीसीज में से रिलीज होना, इस सब में 48 आवर्स लगते हैं. इसलिए एवरी टाइम एक बार फीवर राइज हुआ फिर फीवर नॉर्मल हो जाएगा, फिर 48 आवर्स में राइज करेगा फॉर द स्टेज टू कंप्लीट, और ये 48 आवर्स में स्टेजेस कंप्लीट होंगी, एंड अगेन hemozoin will be released again and fever will rise up, and very high fever rises. Okay, yes. Yes, Kunal?
तो हीमोजॉइन आरबीसी में बन चुका था ऑलरेडी.
हीमोजॉइन आरबीसीज के अंदर बन चुका था, हीमोग्लोबिन को ही तो ब्रेक करके बना है हीमोजॉइन. ओके, तो आरबीसी इन्फेक्टेड आरबीसीज के अंदर बनता है, जो आरबीसीज इन्फेक्ट नहीं हुई है उनके अंदर नहीं बनेगा. ठीक है, हीमोजॉइन बनेगा, साथ में स्कूफर्स डॉट्स भी इन्फेक्टेड आरबीसीज के अंदर ही बनते हैं. ओके, then is after this life cycle of plasmodium in the female anopheles mosquito. female anopheles mosquito को तो हमें पता है, बिल्कुल सिंपल है. सबसे पहले स्टमक में जाके जो gametophytes बन गए थे, some of these merozoites they enter into the RBCs and convert into the gametophyte stage. It is sucked up, blood suck किया, तो जो gametophyte stages हैं वो जाकर के मस्कीटो के स्टमक में फ्यूज करेंगे, फ्यूज करके दे विल चेंज इनटू द ओकाइनीट स्टेज. ओकाइनीट स्टेज मोटाइल स्टेज है, एंड देन इट विल एंटर इनटू द वॉल्स ऑफ द स्टमक. वहां पे जाकर के वो स्टेबलाइज हो जाएगा, वहां पे जाकर के रुक जाएगा, एंड देन वी कॉल इट दिस स्टेज एज द we call this stage as the oocyst stage. और इस oocyst stage के बाद what will happen? It will start dividing by what? By asexual reproduction. वो कई सारे sporozoites बनाएगा. The sporozoites will migrate via the blood to the saliva, वो stomach gut wall से penetrate करता हुआ वो salivary glands तक जाएगा. In the salivary glands it will settle down, and when the mosquito bites the next person, then it will start infecting the other person. Okay, so this was the detail of the life cycle of the malarial parasite. Okay, now the life cycle of after the life cycle of malarial parasite, we have discussed about the various types of other diseases, and then we have to start with the next important topic, that is immunity. Okay, so let us start with immunity first. Let us see what is immunity and what is the different types of immunity or immune cells. Yes, Rajan, you want to say something, beta? I'll show you just, we'll study further from my notes again. We were here, we had to start, we have done till communicable diseases in the next class. Okay, so let's start with the next topic, that is immunity. So what is immunity? Immunity is the ability of body to protect against all types of foreign bodies like bacteria, viruses, toxic substances, etc., which enter the body. So it is an innate ability of our body, the inherent ability of our body to fight against any potentially harmful substance that may enter. Okay. Now, what is susceptibility? When our immune system becomes weak, there's a lack of immunity, immune system is not very strong, then we say we are susceptible to disease. So lack of immunity is susceptibility, and science dealing with various phenomena of immunity is called as immunology. Now, again, back to what we had done in chapter Why Do We Fall Ill? You studied about types of immunity. So what are the various types of immunity? Let us see the first type of immunity. The first type of immunity is innate immunity or natural or non-specific immunity or inborn immunity. It is inherited by organism from parent, the immunity which we are born with. Okay, it is not specific. Not specific means when you talk about antibodies, antibodies are specific against an antigen. Okay, whereas this innate immunity, whether if suppose I'm talking, let us take for example, it protects inherited by organism from parents, and it is not non-specific. Why non-specific? If suppose the skin is preventing not only bacteria but also fungi and also protozoa from directly entering inside. So it is not specific that yes, I'll stop bacteria, but I will not stop fungi. I will not stop protozoa. Okay, so it is a non-specific immunity, a broadened immunity which protects us against various organisms. Okay, it is inherited by organism from parents. The kind of innate immunity we have, it comes from us to us from our parents. It protects it from birth throughout life. Since birth, we are born with this. All the other types of immunities which we acquire after getting birth, like we take vaccines or we coming in contact with pathogen and then we develop immunity, those will not be innate immunities. Okay, they lack specific response to specific invaders. It is not that for bacteria I'll say okay, welcome, come inside, and fungi you stay out. No, it is not specific. Okay, it provides following 4 types of barriers to entry of foreign pathogen. So these are the types of barriers provided by, barriers means stoppage to the entry of pathogen provided by our innate, natural or non-specific immunity. First is physical barrier. Physical barrier means the pathogen is not allowed to come in contact with our body organs. And how are they prevented from coming in contact with our body organs or with our blood? First, physical barriers are the mechanical barriers to microbial pathogens. They are of 2 types. First is the skin. Our organs are not exposed to the environment. Our blood is not exposed to the environment. That is why it is said that your wounds should always be covered. If blood starts oozing out, you immediately cover it with a bandage. Why? Because the organs, the blood should not come in contact, directly contact with the environment because of so many pathogens present. But the skin is coming in contact with the environment. We are not covering our face. We are not covering our hands and legs. Okay, so these organs are coming, this part is coming in contact. Still, the skin beneath, the epithelium present beneath the skin is not getting infected. Means the skin is acting as a mechanical barrier to the entry of pathogen. Skin, that is the stratum corneum, prevents entry of bacteria and viruses. Okay, so stratum corneum, or in other words, the skin, it prevents the entry of bacterial and viral pathogens. Even fungi, when too much of fungi are there and they start eating away the disease, only then we suffer from skin diseases. Every time, every small fungi we come in contact with does not cause skin diseases. Mucous membrane, you know that whatever part of our body is coming in contact with any external substance, like the respiratory system is coming in contact with the atmospheric air directly. So there also mucus is present. Food and water which is coming from outside is entering into our GI system. So even the GI system is coming in contact with the environment, and then what happens? The pathogens are coming along with food and water. So even mucous membrane is present in our GI system. Even in the reproductive system, the mucous membrane is present. So mucus traps microorganisms and immobilizes them. So whenever the microorganisms try to enter through the organs where the mucous membranes are present, the thick sticky mucus which is secreted, it sticks the microbes at that place and the microbes are not able to move further. The cilia present along with the mucous membranes sweeps the mucus loaded with microorganisms to pharynx. So here they are giving the example of the GI system and especially the respiratory system. So the cilia which is present throws the microorganism along with the mucus towards the pharynx, and from pharynx through coughing, sneezing, etc., the mucus is thrown out. Okay. So these were the physical barriers to an infection. Then is the physiological barriers. The physiological barriers are by secretion of certain chemicals. Different organs are secreting some of the other chemicals, and these chemicals are preventing the spread of infection. Either they change the pH of the organ in such a way that the infection will not occur, or they secrete such enzymes or such type of substances which degrades the pathogen. So all such type of secretions which can kill the pathogen are known as the physiological barriers. For example, the acid in stomach, the bile juice coming from our liver, lysozymes in the tissue fluid, the nasal hair, the urine, okay, the pH of the urine is slightly alkaline, the vaginal secretion, they all prevent the entry of, or if a pathogen enters inside, it is killed by these secretions. Then is cellular barriers. Cellular barriers are the different types of cells. Now, if we are writing under non-specific cellular barriers, type of immunity or innate immunity, we will not talk about the B cells and T cells, okay, which are producing antibodies, because antibodies are specific to a pathogen. We will be dealing with the cells of the immune system which are non-specific. No matter which pathogen enters inside is engulfed and damaged by these cells. So cellular barriers, the different types of WBCs, macrophages, natural NK cells, that is the natural killer cells, form the cellular barriers. So if suppose the pathogen has crossed the layer of skin, it cannot be stopped by mucous membrane. The mucus is not able to stick it. It reaches to the stomach or the intestine, and even the stomach and the intestinal secretions are not able to kill that pathogen. Then what happens? If suppose the pathogen reaches to the level of the blood or various organs, then these cells which are present in blood engulfs that pathogen and kills that pathogen. So there are different types of cellular barriers. The cells which help in providing protection are the leukocytes, that too the neutrophils and the monocytes. The neutrophils are highly motile phagocytic killer cells. They engulf the pathogen and destroys it, and they can quickly move from one place to another. Monocytes, they are the largest type of leukocytes. They are motile and phagocytic and changes to macrophages. So monocytes are the type of leukocytes which have the ability to carry out phagocytosis, and later these monocytes only develop into macrophages. Because maybe you have not studied about monocytes, but you have heard about macrophages which engulf a pathogen and destroys it. So the monocytes develop into macrophages. Macrophages are what? They circulate in bloodstream for about 8 hours, enter into a tissue and differentiate into specific tissue macrophages. They are long-lived and highly phagocytic. So what happens? They keep moving in the blood around 8 hours after formation. They keep moving inside the blood for about 8 hours, then enter inside a particular tissue. Okay, they go inside a tissue, any of these tissues, they go inside the tissue and change into tissue-specific macrophages. Okay, so after entering into tissue, moving for 8 hours in blood, they enter into a specific tissue and form the tissue-specific macrophages. And these macrophages, they live for a very long time in the tissue and are phagocytic. So that if the pathogen, even after crossing the blood, reaches to the tissues and start damaging the tissue-specific macrophages present there can engulf it and destroy it. Okay. Then is the natural killer cells, also called as the NK cells. They are the type of lymphocyte which cause destruction by producing perforins or bringing about natural cell death. So what are these cells? What do they do? They cause destruction. Destruction of what? Of the pathogen. by producing perforins. They produce perforins, and perforins, as the name suggests, what do? They do the same thing as it is given here. Perforations, that is pores. They create pores in the plasma membrane. So even these perforins create pores in the plasma membrane of the pathogen, and the pathogen is destroyed. So they bring about the natural cell death of the pathogen by secreting perforins, which creates a pores, and the pathogen it dies. That is why they are known as the natural killer cells. They cause the death, but in a natural way. Okay. Then is the complements. Complements are a group of about 30 proteins which create pores in plasma membrane of the microbes. So these were cells which produce perforin, and complements are what? They are not cells. There are type of proteins present in the blood. There are around 30 types of such proteins present in the blood which have the ability to create pores. They work just like perforins. They create pores in the plasma membrane of the pathogen, and the pathogen thus dies off. Okay. Then is inflammation. Inflammation are the signs, various signs, but they are also a type of innate immunity. We do not learn how to generate these inflammations. These inflammations occur on their own. Okay. So what are these inflammations? We have discussed this before. The 5 signs of inflammation are pain, redness, heat, swelling, and loss of function. And why all these things occur? These are the attempts of the body to dispose of microbes and prevent their spread to other tissues. Redness, that means the RBCs have been pumped, the rupturing of the cell has taken place, and redness has occurred because the body is trying to kill the pathogen at that location. Pain is occurring because certain substances, when the cells, they fight against the pathogens, while fighting, even the normal cells, they start dying, and when they die, they release certain substances. These substances produce a pain-like sensation. That is what is affected by the painkillers. When we take the painkillers, these substances which are being produced as a result of degradation of cell are blocked by these painkillers. So when these molecules do not reach to the brain, we do not get the sensation of pain. So that is why it is not very good to have too many painkillers, because having pain means your body has the ability to send message to your brain that yes, here is the infection, so please help out or send more help, or more division should be taken up at that location. So to unnecessary taking of painkillers, that is why should be avoided. They stop the cause of the pain. Okay, so, sorry, they stop the symptom of pain without carrying out, without destroying the cause of the pain. Okay, then heat. If temperature rises at a particular location as an infection, so that rise in temperature may stop the growth of microorganisms. So this is also a protective mechanism of the body. Swelling, so that water is accumulated, and maybe that accumulated water creates an osmotic pressure on the pathogen and may destroy the pathogen. And loss of function, that organ stops functioning. And if the organ will stop functioning, why is it a protective mechanism? Because if it stops functioning, the blood supply to that organ will become lesser, or it will be stopped. And in that case, the pathogen will not spread from that organ to the other organs. Although this is not good for us, but body will not do what is good for us, what we feel is right. It will do what is correct for the sustenance of the body, what is correct for the sustenance of the other organs. Okay, so that is why loss of function is also a type of innate immunity. Okay, so yes, Peter.
Ma'am, loss of function, can you consider like, okay.
Understood, Aditya? See, for us, loss of function is not good. Okay, but if loss of function is taking place, an organ is not able to work. That means even the body must be supplying lesser blood to that organ. So if less blood or no blood is being supplied to that organ, the pathogen which is present in that organ, the chances of spread of pathogen to other organs will be reduced, because if blood is going inside that organ, it will come out also carrying the deoxygenated blood. Okay, and then the deoxygenated blood again may go to various organs, and via various blood cells across various blood cells, it reaches to the heart. The infection may spread very quickly. So in that case, loss of function may be acting as a method of prevention.